How the first America's millionaire Johann Jakob Astor became wealthy. What do sausages, beaver pelts, Manhattan skyscrapers, and a scandalous British sex affair have in common? One name, Astor. In 1763, a butcher's boy from Waldorf, Germany sharpened his knives, not for meat, but for destiny. How did Johann Jakob Astor go from slicing sausages to slicing through the fur trade like a raccoon in a mink shop? Why did his flute-playing dreams flop harder than a Broadway show with no audience? And what made him whisper, "They'll come," while buying swampy Manhattan land that would later become Fifth Avenue gold? This is not just a story. It's a dynasty, a drama, a deliciously tangled web of ambition, scandal, and velvet-draped revenge. What drove Caroline Astor to snub a railroad baron who owned half the city? Why did Vincent Astor inherit $87 million and still feel cursed? And how did Cliveden House go from royal retreat to tabloid frenzy? This is the Astor family like you've never seen them. Flawed, fabulous, and furiously fascinating. And hey, before we dive into this epic journey, make sure to follow us, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the lives of the world's most intriguing titans. Trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next. In the year of our Lord, 1763, in the sleepy German town of Waldorf, where ambition was rare and sausages were plentiful, Johann Jakob Astor was born. His father was a butcher, and young Johann had two career paths: slice meat or slice through history. He chose the latter, and thank heavens he did, because the world didn't need another bratwurst vendor. It needed a tycoon. Johann had no formal education, but he had a mind like a steel trap and a nose for opportunity so sharp it could sniff profit through a snowstorm. At age 20 in 1783, just as the ink dried on the Treaty of Paris and America was officially free, Johann boarded a ship bound for New York. He arrived with a flute in his pocket, yes, a literal flute, a head full of dreams, and a business instinct that could turn lead into gold. He anglicized his name to Johann Jakob Astor because Johann Jakob sounded like a man who sold sauerkraut, not skyscrapers. Astor's first business, selling musical instruments. He figured Americans needed culture. Turns out they needed coats. The venture flopped like a piano down a flight of stairs. But then, he discovered fur. Astor partnered with Native American tribes and Canadian trappers. He learned the trade, the terrain, and the temperament of the wilderness. In 1808, he founded the American Fur Company, which soon monopolized the fur trade like a raccoon hoarding garbage. He risked everything: his fortune, his reputation, even his scalp. Frontier life was no joke. He once said, "If I could live again, I would be a fur trader. There is no business more thrilling nor more profitable." By 1834, his competitors, crushed. His enemies, bankrupted. His bank account, glorious. He became America's first multi-millionaire, worth over $20 million, roughly $650 billion today. Astor wasn't done. He saw the future in bricks, not beavers. He began buying land in Manhattan when it was still mostly farmland and cow paths. Critics laughed, "Who wants to live in a swamp?" Astor smirked, "They'll come." And they did. By the mid-1800s, New York exploded in population. Astor's land became gold. In 1836, he built the Astor House Hotel, the city's first luxury hotel. He turned Fifth Avenue into his personal monopoly board. His motto? Buy and hold, let others improve. Johann Jakob Astor died in 1848 at age 84. He left his fortune to his son, William Backhouse Astor Sr., a man so quiet he made librarians look rowdy. William Sr. expanded the family's real estate holdings and funded the Astor Library, which later became part of the New York Public Library. He avoided the spotlight and preferred ledgers to limelight. His motto? Let others chase fame, I'll chase rent. William Sr. passed the torch to his son, William Backhouse Astor Jr., who married Caroline Webster Schermerhorn, a woman with the charm of Cleopatra and the ruthlessness of a chess grandmaster. Caroline, known simply as Mrs. Astor, ruled New York high society like a duchess with a velvet whip. She created the 400, a list of people worthy of attending her ballroom. Why 400? Because that's how many fit in my ballroom, she said, with a wink and a dagger. She clashed with the nouveau-rich Vanderbilts, refused to acknowledge anyone without lineage, and once snubbed railroad baron Jay Gould by pretending not to know his name, despite him owning half the city. Her social warfare was legendary. She didn't just host parties. she curated dynasties. Johann Jakob Astor IV, born in 1864 to William Backhouse Astor Jr. and Caroline Mrs. Astor Schermerhorn, Johann Jakob Astor IV was the great-grandson of the original fur and bricks tycoon. He was a Harvard graduate, a colonel in the Spanish-American War, an inventor, and a real estate magnate. He also wrote a sci-fi novel about life on Saturn. Yes, really. By 1911, he had divorced his first wife, Ava Lowell Willing, and scandalously married 19-year-old Madeline Force. New York society clutched its pearls. Caroline Astor, had she been alive, would have fainted into her ballroom curtains. But aboard the RMS Titanic in April 1912, they were just another couple in love, albeit the richest ones on the ship. On April 14, 1912, the Atlantic was calm, the stars sharp against the velvet sky. In Suite C62, Astor poured brandy for Madeline, who was 5 months pregnant. He was 47, she was 19. Their suite was the epitome of luxury, mahogany paneling, silk upholstery, and a private promenade deck. Then, a jolt. A shudder. The ship had struck ice. Astor stepped into the corridor, his military bearing intact. He asked a steward, "What was that?" "An iceberg, sir. We've stopped." Astor returned to Madeline, calm but alert. "Dress warmly," he said. "We may be going outside." By 12:15 a.m., lifeboats were being lowered. Astor escorted Madeline to Lifeboat 4. He turned to Officer Lightoller. "May I accompany my wife? She is with child." Lightoller shook his head. "Women and children only." Astor nodded, kissed Madeline's hand, and stepped back. He lit a cigarette, watching the lifeboat descend into the dark. At 2:20 a.m., the Titanic broke apart. Astor was last seen near the bridge, helping others. His body was recovered days later, crushed by a falling funnel. In his pocket, $2,500 in cash and a gold watch. Madeline survived. She named their son Johann Jakob Astor VI, forever known as the Titanic baby. Vincent Astor, Johann Jakob IV's son from his first marriage, inherited $87 million, a fortune soaked in grief. He was just 20 years old. The press called him the richest boy in the world. Vincent became a philanthropist, funding housing projects, hospitals, and libraries. But he was also bitter. He disinherited his half-brother, the Titanic baby, and left his fortune to his wife, Brooke Astor. Brooke became a beloved socialite, but in her old age, her son Anthony Marshall was convicted of elder abuse, accused of manipulating her finances and isolating her. The Astor name, once synonymous with elegance, was dragged through courtrooms and tabloids. In 1891, William Waldorf Astor, cousin to John Jacob Afford, fled the snobbery of New York and moved to England. He bought Cliveden House, a palatial estate west of London, and became a British subject in 1899. For his wartime philanthropy, he was made Baron Astor in 1916 and Viscount Astor in 1917. Cliveden became a hub of British high society. His descendants mingled with Churchill, hosted royals, and stirred scandals. His son, Waldorf Astor, married Nancy Langhorne, the first woman to sit in the British Parliament. In the 1960s, Cliveden House became ground zero for the Profumo affair, a political sex scandal that rocked Britain. Keeler was involved with both Profumo and Ivanov, creating a potential national security risk. The affair was exposed in 1963. Profumo lied to Parliament, then confessed. The scandal toppled Prime Minister Harold Macmillan's government and helped usher in the Labour Party's victory in 1964. Controversies, mistakes, and regrets. Snobbery. The Astors were infamous for their elitism. They refused to acknowledge new money and clung to old-world titles. Family feuds. Vincent Astor disinherited his half-brother and left his fortune to his wife, Brooke Astor, who later faced elder abuse allegations from her son. Political missteps. Some Astors flirted with fascist sympathies in the 1930s, leading to public backlash and quiet retreats from politics. Achievements. Built New York's real estate empire, created America's first luxury hotel, funded libraries, hospitals, and housing, shaped high society and transatlantic aristocracy. The Astor name was dragged through tabloids like a mink coat through mud. Cliveden, once a symbol of aristocratic charm, became synonymous with scandal. Today, the Astor name lingers in buildings, books, and blue-blooded gossip. Their fortune has faded, their mansions sold, but their story remains a masterclass in ambition, risk, reinvention, and the occasional, scandalous soiree. Make sure to follow us, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the lives of the world's most intriguing titans. Trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next.